I'll just say this. You watching this, do you believe her? Do you believe her? I would say when we see him on camera, that's the best Joe Biden has to offer. But go ahead, Democrats, just keep lying to yourselves. Go with Joe Biden, and then we're just going to have Donald Trump, and we'll just see how that works out.
Joining us now is Vice President Kamala Harris. Madam Vice President, thanks for being with us. CNN's John King has described a panic inside the Democratic Party right now because of President Biden's performance in tonight's debate. He's been hearing from Democratic lawmakers and others around the country. Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. On substance, on policy, on performance, Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong.
What the fuck is she talking about? We literally saw Joe Biden struggle to form coherent sentences. I have a doctor friend who's a director of neurology in his department, and he said that Joe Biden is exhibiting symptoms of neurodegeneracy. For them to just say, oh, he looks really strong up there, this woman's a lunatic. If this woman's judgment is that Joe Biden did great and showed strength, God forbid this woman becomes president, because if Joe Biden wins, very likely this woman's going to be president. And if she can't look at it from like a normal person's point of view, being like, yeah, that was really rough, either she's making the most cynical political calculus I've ever seen, and she's just straight up lying to you.
The president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear. Look at what happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over and over again, as he is wont to do. He would not disavow what happened on January 6th. He would not give a clear answer on whether he would stand by the election results this November. He went back and forth about where he stands on one of the most critical issues of freedom in America, which is the right of a woman to make decisions about their own body. He has been completely ambiguous and all over the place about where he stands on that issue, despite the fact that he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, wherein women across our country have been denied emergency health care,
all that may be true. All that may be true.
I'm surprised to even see Anderson Cooper, who's like a Democrat shill, is even pushing back. Okay, number one, Donald Trump said he would accept the election results. That's what he said. And number two, there is a stark contrast. You see someone with visible cognitive problems, and you see another person, whether or not they're lying, that's a separate issue, but they at least have coherent thoughts. If this is the inner circle's attitude towards this whole debate, and just think they're going to propagandize and lie to the American people like they usually do, they're going to have another thing coming in November. And I can't wait. If they actually replace Joe Biden, I remember Hillary Clinton going out there and saying, hey, these are the 2 nominees, get over it. Oh, wait, it looks like we can change nominees if we actually really have to. But no, continue to spew lies and think the American people are stupid, and see how that turns out for you in November.
Was not able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. That's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5-hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But
whether
is
it be
the man
infrastructure,
who we
the
saw
former
on the
guy,
stage
the other
tonight,
guy,
is that
the other guy on the debate stage.
Good question.
The person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about, whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals.
I have to stop there. Oh my God. This bullshit that he's a dynamo behind the scenes. I guarantee you, Joe Biden was probably hopped up on whatever they hop him up on, whether that's energy drinks or Adderall, whatever it is. That was the best Biden that could show up. And for them to just blatantly lie to us and say, oh, he's completely different whenever the camera's off.
So that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community and in the Situation Room, ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice.
I'll just say this. You watching this, do you believe her? Do you believe her? If you're going to keep arguing that behind the scenes he's a completely different person, we don't see the worst of Joe Biden, where we have G7 leaders saying he's visibly struggling. But go ahead, Democrats, just keep lying to yourselves, go with Joe Biden, and then we're just going to have Donald Trump, and we'll just see how that works out.
It was a debate that your campaign wanted. You pushed for this debate at this moment. Obviously, I mean, you can't honestly say, I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
He's so afraid of pissing off the people in charge right now. Do you see how he's just hedging? He just wants to tell the truth for a second, but he's like, I might lose my job, so I can't really say what I actually think. And then he asks the question being like, don't you agree with this? Let me soften it as best I can in order for you to actually agree with it or disagree with it. These people in media, they're just prostitutes. They're fucking cowards, and they would never challenge power. They're fucking stooges to power.
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our collective lifetime.
If you actually believe that, you wouldn't be running Joe Biden. So stop saying Donald Trump's going to end democracy. I'm fucking sick of them saying, oh, Donald Trump's going to end democracy. Well, you would actually have a different nominee if you thought he was going to end democracy, which just shows you're a fucking liar. You don't think Donald Trump's going to end democracy. We're just going to get different tax policy and different border policy for 4 years.
Do we want to look at what November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who has said he'll be a dictator on day one, want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million American jobs, over 800,000 manufacturing jobs. I got that this is the afterplay for the debate, this conversation that I'm in, and I understand why everyone wants to talk about it, but I think it's also important to...
You agreed to the interview. God, this woman's dumb.
Recognize that the choice in November between these two people that were on the debate stage involves extraordinary stakes. And there's one person on that stage who has the endorsement of their vice president. That's why he has to look for someone else to run with him who, as we know, will embolden and rubber stamp whatever he wants, because they're going to have to make a choice to not be Mike Pence and to put Donald Trump over their country.
Kind of like the decision you're making right now. Would you really be cheerleading this if you weren't the vice president? And possibly the president if Joe Biden wins? Would you be cheerleading this, Kamala Harris? Maybe you are that dumb. I don't know.
At stage tonight, made the argument as coherently as you just did. You mentioned reproductive rights. I'd like to just play that exchange that we saw tonight.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, Constitutional Scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
To someone who watched this debate tonight and has serious concerns about the President of the United States, what do you say to them about what they just saw?
They witnessed the fact that if Donald Trump were elected to be president of the United States this November, he will sign a national abortion ban. Take him at his word. He said he would when he was president before. He said if it came to his desk, he'd sign it. There's no reason to believe anything would change.
Will Trump actually try to pass a national abortion ban? I don't know. This is the issue they're begging to save their ass in November, is the abortion issue.
Just
Joe
finally,
Biden was very clear. He will sign
go.
back into law the protections of Roe v. Wade.
Joe Biden doesn't have the ability to do that unless he gets more people in Congress who actually support that issue. President Obama had a supermajority at one point, and he could have codified this in the law a long time ago. Because if there's a national ban, that's not just on Donald Trump.
The Joe Biden that I work with every day is someone who, as I have said, has performed in a way that has been about bringing people into the Oval Office, Republicans and Democrats, to compromise in a way that is extraordinary these days because it just doesn't happen, but Joe Biden can make it happen. The Joe Biden I see is someone who goes to our allies around the world and strengthens NATO to the point that there are 2 new members of NATO who just about 4 years ago, people said, is NATO even have a reason for existing? The Joe Biden I know is someone who has delivered 800,000 new manufacturing jobs and bringing manufacturing back to the United United States, not shipping jobs out like Donald Trump did. So that's the Joe Biden I know.
I'm scared that this woman could be president. If she's so cynical and just calculates politically, if I just prop up Joe Biden and just lie to the American people, everything will turn out fine for me. I might even be president. I'll leave you with this. Do you really want a President Kamala Harris?